100 years of dying would have killed a lesser man, but the American cowboy lives. And the folks that live or revere that life today, they still write about it, still sing about it. We've been on the road gathering contemporary cowboy songs and the stories behind them and the punchers and poets that create them. I'm Jeff Wildhorse Posey. This is Ballad Hunter. In the familiar words of Lieutenant Colonel John J. Dunbar, the strangeness of this world cannot be measured. One example was the random event of reconnecting with a childhood friend some 25 years ago. At some point in our renewed friendship, he gave me a cassette tape. He said he loved it, but he knew I would appreciate it more. I had never heard of R.W. Hampton at the time, and the cassette was his first album, but it included a masterful collection of contemporary cowboy songs delivered in a rich baritone voice, and more importantly to me, they were written by the young cowboy from his heart and his authentic cowboy perspective. My friend knew about my passion for great songwriting, especially about cowboy stuff, but what neither of us could know at the time is that R.W. would become one of the most beloved Western performers in America, and that 25 years after receiving that cassette, I would be sitting down with that young cowboy to help document and share his story and his music. Here's R.W. Hampton.
My cowboy story. Well, when the 3:30 bell rang my senior year there at J.J. Pierce High School, Richardson, Texas, I headed out, my little 3-speed Chevy pickup. I had an old beat-up used saddle and a guitar, and I was going to be a cowboy, and that's what I did. Like a lot of Texas kids, I grew up on the 60s westerns, you know. So I think when I was horseback, I was Cheyenne Bodie or Steve McQueen from Wanted Dead or Alive, or one of those guys. But anyhow, horses were always a part of my life. But I didn't really get exposed to the cowboy life, the work aspect of it, till 1974. I was hired onto the Philmont Scout Ranch here as a summer wrangler. And they had about 300 head of horses, and part of our job was, when we got here, we got to help brand the calves and push the calves up to the high country, and then it was the horses and the scouts, and so I worked there 74, 5, and 6, and I learned a lot of the men that I worked for there, the old guys. I was just turning 16 to 17, my first year there, and the old guys were in their mid-20s, and a lot of them had worked on the bigger ranches, so we learned a lot from them. I went to work I worked on the Red River Ranch here, just south of here, and I got to where I kind of didn't stay any place for too long, because if you stayed too long, then you got past the cowboy work, and they were wanting you to fence and work on windmills. And so I'd go some other place where they were branding or shipping like that. I worked a lot on the Canadian River, some of those outfits in the Panhandle of Texas, and then drifted up to Nevada and southeastern Oregon and northeastern Wyoming. But I always wanted to come back to this country, and something happened to me years ago. This old country kind of stole my heart away. And so when Lisa and I got married, I was living in Amistad, New Mexico, which is about 10 miles over the Texas line between Clayton, New Mexico, and Narvaeza, New Mexico. Big country, best people in the world. But we started out our lives there, and we got a little grub stake, and we were wanting to buy a little place of our own, and nothing ever came up around there. We probably would be there today had it not been for, they were just, you couldn't buy a few hundred acres, you know, you could buy thousands. but you couldn't buy what we could afford, and we found this place, so we found what we wanted here. It's kind of a work in progress. We breed horses and race horses here. Have our CV brand on them, Clearview brand, and we've owned cattle at different times. The thing that we'd like to do the most is run other people's cattle. Kind of takes the risk out, and so we've been doing that for years now. At least our pasture out. But yeah, I learned the cowboy trade from the ground up. I was not really raised that way.
Well, that cassette tape may not have survived the last quarter century, but R.W. has. And in the process, he has released a dozen award-winning albums while entertaining adoring crowds worldwide and receiving just about every possible award for a Western entertainer. Of course, it wasn't without challenge. R.W. is a cowboy, a singer, a songwriter, an actor, but most of all, he is a survivor. Through family tragedy, cancer, a couple of total pickups, and the fear and pride of sending sons to war, he has emerged deeply patriotic, devoted to his family, his craft, and his creator. He may have learned cowboying from the ground up, but his passion for music is clearly from the inside out.
Music was a part of my life. I always loved music, and my parents were not singers or performers. My dad loved gospel music, grew up in the First Baptist Church there, and Sunday morning, one of my favorite memories is Sunday morning on the radio. I don't remember whether it was KRLD or WFAA, could have been out of WBAP, one of the big Dallas-Fort Worth AM stations. On Sunday morning, getting ready for church, he'd put on a show called Hymns We Love. I've always had a love for music, always. When I was 14, we had a family tragedy, and my sister perished in that. And I think it was my way of healing. I take my guitar, when things really got sad, I take my guitar out somewhere, where I kept my horse, or in my bedroom, and shut the door, and I just play and sing, always singing. So when I headed out to the Philmont and then these other ranches, my guitar went with me. And I never was good at playing cards like the older cowboys. And I play my guitar, and it was just something to do, relaxation. And about 1977 or 8, Kenny Rogers came through the country that I was working in at the time in northern Nevada and did a TV special called Kenny Rogers and the American Cowboy. As luck would have it, it featured a young cowboy by the name of R.W. Hampton sitting there with Kenny and a guitar singing Ghost Riders in the Sky. And he sang Sweet Baby James, an old James Taylor song. And they paid me a little bit, and I thought that's pretty neat. But I went back to punching cows for $300 a month and loving every minute of it. But it just kind of lit something, It lit a little bit of a kind of a pilot light in me. And I was asked to, when I worked at the Spade Ranch, I was asked to perform for the Golden Spur Awards out of Lubbock, Texas. And I never had played in front of a crowd like that. I think there was maybe 500 people there, and I absolutely loved it. I played Little Joe the Wrangler for Albert K. Mitchell, and that was the first year they'd had that. It's I don't know how many years they're up to now. But anyhow, I went back to my ranch job at the Spade Ranch, and the little pilot light got a little higher. And years later, when I started getting asked to play for more and more things, I went to Elko, Nevada as a guest in not the first year, I think it might have been the third year. And that furthered my How my heart interest in raising family on cowboys' wages, living out on a camp, a great way to raise kids. But I realized at some point, cowboy, you ain't never gonna have nothing for yourself. And that marriage eventually petered out, and I was still raising kids on a cowboy's wages. But I decided there that I thought I'm going to keep working for the ranch. I'll go somewhere maybe once every 8 or 12 weeks on a weekend if they'll let me get away and make a few bucks playing the guitar at one of these events. But when the big call on the big phone came, I would take it, and I'd step cleanly from the ranch into Hollywood or Nashville or whatever. That never happened. So I just eventually, I decided I was going to go for it, and it was tough going for a while, but we've been blessed. I grew up listening to all kinds of music, and the radio was more friendly to all kinds of music. Marty Robbins was a huge influence. Cowboy music, to me, was the country music of the West. Made sense to me. It's a big old country. There's the Mississippi and east of the Mississippi and west of the Mississippi. So it made huge sense. But I think Marty did a combination on his gunfighter ballads and trail songs of old cowboy about streets of Laredo and Utah Carol, some of those songs. But some of my favorites were ones that he wrote. I'm looking at that, wow, Marty Robbins. And I went, well, I ought to, I could write songs about my life here on the ranch, And they were very romanticized, but I wrote them.
What's the earliest song you remember writing and keeping?
Well, it'd be one about this part of the country called Cimarron.
Well, why don't we hear that?
Let's do that. It is like a wild and beautiful woman with the wind blowing through her hair, and it comes to me in my dreams, and I find myself wanting to be there. Cimarron, from you I've been long gone, but I know that you're waiting for me to come home. Cimarron, words like Miranda and Rayado, Sangre de Cristo and Bobien, words like, do you still love me? And are you coming home once again? Cimarron, from you I've been long gone, but I know that you're waiting for me to come home. Cimarron. As I ride across that old mountain pass, I see you there below, and like a wild and beautiful woman, you beckon me with your soft hello. Cimarron, Cimarron, from you I've been long gone, but I know that you were waiting for me to come home, Cimarron, for me to come home, Cimarron. Oh, Cimarron.
Instructions, are you ready? She called me a cowboy. The auction.
Well, one of my favorite songs that I wrote quite a few years ago, but still one of my favorites, and folks always ask for it, is Donnie Catch a Horse. It's got another title called The One That I Never Could Ride. But Donnie's a good old buddy of mine. He and I punched cows together. We worked on ranches that neighbored each other, and raised our boys together, and you know, he's more like a brother than a friend, and if we don't talk or can't be around each other for a long time, we just pick up, you know, there's no awkwardness or anything. But anyhow, years ago, part of my experience, I went to Nashville, and had some appointments there, and had some things going that never panned out. That's a whole nother story. And everybody's got those kind of stories. And so, talking to my buddy Don Kay, said, I'm coming home. And he said, well, do you have any luck back there? I said, well, I thought I was going to, but I need to come home. And I said, just catch a horse for me. And he said, I can do that. And so I went through that period where I kind of got back to my roots, riding out every day. And Donnie's always been there for me, so I wrote this song. Left my home so long ago, I've rambled near and far, traded my old boots and spurs for a crying moan guitar. What I lost along the way, the good Lord only knows. But I ain't sold my saddle yet, while I still got the time to go. I'm a singing, Donnie, catch a horse for me, you know, the one that I never could ride. Shake your snub in my frail clothes, gonna give it another try. Me and Tom will ride the cedar breaks and the wild ones rope and tie. Bonnie Gray, if you're still free, will you be a cowboy's bride? From the Bighorns to Dakota line, where the Bellfouche River runs, I rode many a frozen mile, but I had a lot of fun. I ran my first wild horses there, Lord, I've never been the same. Long to see the sun go down on the Thunder Basin range. Donnie, catch a horse for me, you know, the one that I never could ride. Jakey, snub him up real close, gonna give him another try. Me and Tom will ride the cedar breaks and the wild ones, rope and tie. Bonnie Grave, you're still free, would you be a cowboy's bride? Got a gal that's true to me, she's waited for so long. She wanted nothing more from life than a family and home. First thing in the morning, I'll ride out and see her pa. She and I are gonna settle down at the head of the cottonwood draw, singing, Donnie, catch a horse for me, you know, the one that I never could ride. Jakey, snub him up real close, gonna give him another try. Out of river, Tom, let her buck, the Missouri's deep and wide. Bonnie Grave, you're still free, would you be a cowboy's bride? Donnie, catch a horse for me, you know, the one that I never could ride. Ooh, never could ride. Oh yeah, never could ride. Lead him up here, Don. We'll ride him again.
The moon and her muse and the arroyos dance to a coyote song in the canyon lands. Bloom on the sage says the rain is near. I am wrapped in the blood of spirits here. I feel the thunder of a mighty herd sifting through my fingers in a fistful of earth. Horse and warrior, bold and brave, the dead chase the